1954 was one of the busiest UFO waves in history, where Italy had a lot of UFO activity that started towards the end of the year. On October the 18th in Tuscany, Renzo Pugina, after arriving home, noticed a soft glow in the sky, which he believed was the moon. As he walked up to his apartment, he noticed an unusual being at the top of the stairs. It was about 4 feet tall and surrounded by soft, warm light, and appeared to be wearing armour. It had a helmet on its head with a transparent visor. It wore metallic-like coveralls with metallic scales on it. He noticed several tubes on its back. The tubes were connected to a luminous disc, the size of a bicycle wheel. As he climbed the stairs, the creature turned around to face him. It looked as if it was manipulated by a mechanism. The creature pointed a flashlight at him and he was immediately paralysed, but could still see. It had no forehead, and his eyes were large and almond-shaped, and his skin looked olive and oily. After the paralysis wore off, he moved towards the being. It had a grimace look on its face and flew into the nearby trees with a soft buzzing sound before disappearing. They found an unknown substance outside the apartment where the being had been, which was odourless, dry and greaseless. Pugini was so shocked he was bedridden for several days. Following day, local resident Bruno Sinisi saw 2 shining objects descend and land in a nearby field. He observed several strange beings emerge from the object and move towards him, but he managed to lose them. That same evening, Filippo Carodoni was near the Isonzo River when he saw what looked like a half-empty balloon on the ground in a nearby field. He then noticed a disc-shaped object resting on a frame. The craft looked approximately 30 feet wide. The top of the object had a black dome with several portals around the underside with light coming from them. Suddenly the lights went out and the spinning object rose vertically into the air at great speed along with the balloon-like object. Later that night in Marche, Paolo Cottizzi and Giulio Emery were in the park when they noticed a strange light appear overhead. The object was disc-shaped and hovered whilst giving small violent flashes. It was about 20 feet wide. A ladder appeared from the side of the object and 2 robot-like beings around 4 feet tall began to descend towards the ground. They surveyed their surroundings for a few moments before climbing back into the craft and flew away. On October the 21st in Melito, a man was walking in the field and heard a sudden rustling sound and saw an object land. After moving towards the object, it gave off bronze-green rays of light before a humanoid pilot emerged from the craft. The man couldn't move as the alien walked towards him, but a barking noise caused the humanoid to stop before heading back to the craft, which rose into the air and disappeared. In Tuscany, farm worker Alderico Cardinale was walking along a path in the countryside when a patch of fog appeared, followed by a strange buzzing sound. As the fog slowly dissipated, it revealed a strange object which the man mistook for a downed aeroplane, then realised the object looked more like a large plate that was sitting on the ground and made of shiny metal. He saw a figure around 4 feet tall wearing some type of yellow-brown uniform. The being was completing some task before entering the craft. Moments later, the object rose into the air and disappeared over some trees. On October the 25th in Liguria, a resident reported a disc-shaped object that glowed a red colour and land. 2 humanoid figures exited the object. They looked around for several moments before going back into the vehicle, which rose into the air and disappeared. Luigi Dini and his daughter witnessed a strange object from the terrace of their home. It appeared like a meteor before landing on the ground. 25-year-old Romualdo Berti, a stonemason, claimed to have seen a luminous rocket that resembled a cigar with flames coming out of the tail at the Cennino Woods, stating it went straight up before levelling towards the horizon. It had a bluish tint and was silent. On November the 1st, in the Italian region of Emilia-Romagna, farm worker Adele Monti witnessed a strange-looking object hovering just above the ground, approximately 1,500 feet from him. He saw cylinders around the outside of the object and a small figure outside the craft. Fisherman F. Cinza was on his boat on the Dice River on a foggy night and noticed a green glow coming through the fog. He thought it was another boat approaching and shouted to let his presence be known. When there was no reply, he noticed that the light was not moving. As he got closer, he saw a mushroom-shaped object on the ground on the riverbank and witnessed several strange figures in the green glow that came from the craft. He called out to them, but there was no reply. The object shot off into the sky, sending out several silver beams of light. It moved overhead before disappearing. The following evening in Cremona, Pietro Alberini and Pericles Sacchi had an encounter while hunting. They witnessed a short being with breathing apparatus on its back. As they approached the being, it produced a bluish light that it wrapped itself in. They turned and ran. On November the 6th in Rome, Alberto Perigo witnessed numerous white orb-like objects move over the sky during a 2-hour span. They flew in formations of 2, 3, 4, 7 and 12, sometimes in a V formation, and others in straight lines, performing several sharp turns. The following day in Sardinia, a motorcyclist observed a dish-shaped object appear overhead before landing at the roadside. He swerved his motorcycle to avoid colliding and came off the bike about 150 feet away from the object. A taxi pulled up further down the road, who also witnessed the craft. It appeared to be made of silvery metal and was shiny and about 50 feet wide. The object rose into the air before disappearing. The following morning in Monza, northern Italy, a UFO landed inside a local stadium and was witnessed by about 100 people. The object sat on 3 legs and had a domed surface with an extremely bright white light. 2 small entities were seen, each wearing transparent helmets and white and grey suits. Some witnesses could hear the figures speaking in guttural tones. The crowd then entered the arena where the 2 figures re-entered the craft and flew away. On the 11th of November, a journalist called Tino and Rafael Favaro noticed a blue-green light and saw a triangular object on a football field. Then a flashing silver light showered around the object, which took off and sped out to sea. On November the 12th, in Aqua Polesine, about 70 kilometers southwest of Venice, a fisherman saw an object descending from the sky before diving into the canal. 7 hours later, a similar object was witnessed at the Vatican's Castel Gandolfo mountain residence. On November the 14th, 3 tractor drivers reported seeing a bright red UFO as they were working in a field in Forlì and ran away. After returning a short time later, the object was gone. At 8 p.m. in Isola, a cigar-shaped object appeared out of the sky and landed on the ground. 3 small humanoids emerged from the craft, each wearing a metallic diving suit. They spoke in a language that witness Mr. Lorenzini could not understand. On November the 16th in Catania, Sicily, 4 men, Salvatore Reposadi, Antonio Espada, Gaetano Nicolisi, and Cavallio Angel, reported seeing a disc-shaped object in front of them hovering above the ground. It was metallic and about 20 feet wide. They heard a strange sound followed by a flash of light. A hatch opened and a strange humanoid being looked at them before closing their hatch, rising into the air and disappearing with alarming speed. 1 week later in Colcerata, Macerata, 2 12-year-old boys saw 3 small dark-coloured animal-like beings with flat-top heads moving around in a nearby field. They had shiny suits that looked plastic. They also noticed a barrel-like object hovering nearby, which the beings entered. It rose into the air before a large fireball exploded as it shot into the sky. On November the 25th in Sicily, 2 12-year-old boys called G. Marziano and P. Santucci witnessed an object resting on the ground. They hid in some bushes and watched as 3 figures with large heads and grey skin moved near the object. After entering the spherical object, it rose into the air with a hissing sound and took off. One evening in Cape Masullo, Capri Island, artist Rafael Castel saw a disc land on the property of his neighbour, Curcio Malaparte. It was about 15 feet wide. He saw 4 figures near the object enter the craft, then a strange whirring sound filled the air followed by blue sparks. So 1954 was indeed a hive of activity for UFOs in Italy.